What's up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, and as you know, it is all about classic bodybuilding on this channel. It's a bit blurry right now, but that will be fixed in the next scene. But today's a leg day, guys, a leg day, and it's going to be a heavy leg day focused on the hamstrings and, strength for the legs. So we start out with the lying leg curl. And I started with a neutral position because we're doing 6 sets of lying leg curls. The first 2 sets are with your feet neutral, in a neutral position, like straight. Then the second 2 sets will be with your feet outwards, as you see right here. Basically your toes pointing outwards, and the change of the angle of your feet like this changes the way your hamstrings contract. So you're hitting different angles of the hamstrings, using different muscle fibers, putting different stress on the hamstrings. And the last 2 sets you put your toes inwards. And to me this one is the hardest version because it puts a lot of stress on the part of the hamstrings that for me is the weakest. And all of those 3 feel different. It only has to be a slight angle variation to feel a big difference, trust me. But the main difference from this compared to the regular lying leg curl is I used less reps this time to exert a larger force upon the hamstrings and forcing them to grow, because hamstrings react better to a heavier load. And right here I'm doing seated leg curls again, something different, doing 8 reps again, but this time an extra squeeze at the bottom, which, trust me, makes this exercise like 3 times as hard. You cannot even do half of the weight you normally do.
This is the music I'm talking about.
So this is the third, basically, isolation exercise for the legs, and now I'm doing leg extensions. More reps than the leg curls because I feel your knees really need to warm up, because we are going to do some heavy compounds after this. And as you can see, the last few reps I'm overextending the legs, really putting more pressure on the quads and really creating those, carving those lines in the legs, because as you know, I am cutting and I want the muscles to show as effectively as possible. So the last 2 sets I used the same amount of weight, 65 kilos. And what you do then, because the machine only goes up to 65 kilos, but what you do then is you take less rest time in between the sets. So at least, at a maximum of 30 seconds between the sets, which makes the second set much more difficult, even though it is the same weight. And now we are moving on to one of the heavy compounds that we're doing today, the leg press. And as you can see, a wider stance. Well, it should be a little wider than this, but as you can see, the platform isn't that wide on this one, but still it's effective, more effective for the hamstrings than a regular stance on this machine. I'm also doing a slow negative because hamstrings also react better to a negative force. When you go slowly downwards, you take away the momentum. And I'm also stopping at the top to really take the momentum out of the entire motion. So I usually don't show the heavier sets, but I kind of felt strong today, so I didn't really need a spotter. It felt kind of light even this weight. I did a set after this with again 50 kilos more, but the slow negatives really make you feel the weight, not only in general as an exhaustion, but also deep into the muscles. Because for me, personally, when you do squats or leg presses, the first thing that gives out is basically your stamina, or you get exhausted from the amount of force you have to exert. But this time I really felt the individual muscles in the legs give out before anything else. And that's what slow negatives are all about, keeping the tension on the muscles that you want to work. No momentum, no using other muscles. Now this one is actually quite interesting. This is the first ever time that I'm doing this, and they are called box squats. Well, actually I'm using a bench, but normally this is done with a box of about the same height where you sit on. And you know, at first sight it looks like an easier exercise than the regular squats because, you know, you can rest at the bottom, you don't have the tension at the bottom with your legs. But it's the contrary. It is more difficult, trust me. So basically what this exercise is about is, again, like the previous exercise on the leg press, take away the momentum. Really let the muscles that you want to work do all the work. And that's exactly what I'm feeling right now. You really feel the quads, the hamstrings, even the calves a little bit work, and nothing else. Sometimes when you go very deep, especially for people who drop down really fast, you get this effect that you basically spring back up because of the tension in your legs, you know, they're basically acting like springs and you go up a lot easier, basically using the momentum of the movement.
Inner thigh, guys.
So I actually went up to 180 kilos on this one. That's what I usually squat normally, but this felt a lot heavier. And you know, this is a recommendation, guys. Just try it out, even if it doesn't look as good as a squat. If your aim is to build up your legs, because for me they are a weak point, especially when you're a tall guy, it's just hard to fill out your legs. Try out exercises like this, taking away the momentum, just, you know, using different forces, using different stresses, different angles on the muscle, and you will experience growth. You know, it just feels very different. I can literally feel my quads failing on me, giving out before my back, before my stamina, before anything else, and that's what you want when you're bodybuilding. Now to finish off the hamstrings and the glutes, actually, we do a stiff-legged deadlift. And the hamstrings actually have two functions. The flexion of the knee, basically just a regular leg curl, but also the hip extension. And that's what we're doing right now. You're stretching out the hamstring, and when you go up, you squeeze your glutes and basically extend forward, you know, thrust forward, and this is very beneficial for your hamstrings in terms of strength and hypertrophy. And this has become one of my favorite calf exercises. I didn't do this for a long time because, you know, I used to do this at my previous gym because they had a better setup for this, but you know, this setup works pretty well actually. I never tried it out, but it's the standing calf raise in the Smith machine, and you can go pretty heavy on this one. And you're supposed to go heavy because you want to put your calves under a load that they are not used to, because right now you see I loaded up the bar with 170 kilos, really shocking those calves into growth. And in my opinion, calves can never be big enough. And if you have trouble building up your calves, just make sure that you do a full range of motion, especially on the way down. Stretch the calves out. When you go upwards, go as high until you feel your calves contract really hard. As I get leaner, you will see that two individual calf muscle heads. For me, my lower legs and my the back of my legs, my hamstrings, are the latest really to show any detail when I'm cutting. But my aim is to, within a couple of weeks, is to show those striations. And then the last exercise of the day, the seated calf raise. And again, I'm going pretty heavy with this. Putting my toes inwards to really work the outer head of the calves, because the inner head is pretty much there, but the outer head can never be big enough for me. Anyway guys, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. The cutting video will come in a few days actually, like the lean bulking video. And don't forget to stay golden.